got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
Welcome to episode 279 of Dynasty Theory. As you can see, we're mixing it up again, and I'll get into the reasoning in a minute, but first I just want to thank all the listeners. We had over 150 likes on the last episode. We had over 60 comments. It was great. Please keep doing that. It means a lot to help us grow this channel with everything Scott's doing, Shane's doing, Ty's doing. Everyone's doing stuff this channel, right? So it just helps us a lot if you could keep doing it. Helps the algorithm. But anyways, the reason why we're mixing up again is these two gentlemen. I asked them, hey, give me some veterans that you really want to buy right now in Dynasty. Dan has always liked the hype guys. He likes the guys that are coming up. John likes the old fellas, is the nice way to put it. He likes the elder statesmen of the NFL. So we're going to have little varying degrees how it goes. But Dan, how you doing this week? Early Monday?
Doing great, man. I guess first Monday, 1 week post Super Bowl Sunday, and fresh off watching Captain America in the movie theaters with the boy. And I feel kind of like, Harrison Ford turning into Red Hulk, going from like DFS to Dynasty, watching all this rookie film over the weekend. So good to be with you boys, man.
I really hope that wasn't a spoiler. I don't watch it, so I'm hoping it's not, but we'll see how it goes. John, do you watch Marvel?
I do, and it's not a spoiler. It was in all the commercials, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
That's
okay, so we are going to get right into it. Like I said, this is a veterans we want to buy now. We've had a lot of rookie talk over the last month on the channel. Going to try to mix in some veterans to go out because there's been a lot of chatter in the Discord. Join the Patreon just so you can get into the Discord so you can be in on these conversations. But a lot of people are being like, hey, it's a little quiet right now. Now is a good time to start getting an idea on who you want to go and get. Because in the next 2 weeks, free agency is going to start. The NFL schedule is going to start kicking in. So we're going to have a lot more action going. So if you have an idea on who to attack, it's going to give you an idea. But Dan, you're first up. You want Trevor Lawrence. He is your veteran to buy. Is it just because of Liam Cohen? Or is it Liam Cohen? Sorry. Or is it more because you just believe in the player itself?
I won't scare our listeners away with any Duval chants here, but I'm a combination of a T. Lawrence believer. You guys know I love an alignment of good coaching with a quarterback and just what he's done with quarterbacks, Baker in Tampa, and so forth. I think this puts Trevor Lawrence in a good situation. And then as you gentlemen gave this homework assignment this weekend, I look at my rankings and I'm like, it is rookie fever season, but we see people updating their trade bait in our dynasty emails, and I don't want to get too caught up in the rookie fever. I know there's going to be some opportunities to go after some veterans. And when I see Trevor Lawrence, 19th in my ranking, 27th in scoring last year for dynasty quarterbacks, to me, he's a quarterback where I see an opportunity to get somebody at a buyable price, where obviously a lot of quarterbacks that we'd want to fix our quarterback situation, we're not going to be able to obtain. So T-Law is a guy I think still young enough, talented enough, and is now finally, hopefully, going into a good situation where I'd want to buy.
John, how worried are you that T-Law isn't fixable at this point?
See, I don't even know if that's really a concern for me, only because of his price.
Okay.
There's a very realistic possibility, like you get these quarterbacks that have just been battered and bruised from the time they came into the league, new systems, new coaching staffs. Maybe the personnel wasn't always there that you would need for them to be able to compete. But Trevor Lawrence, he's one of those guys that we talk about all the time, right? Where he was so highly valued from the jump. The way things have played out, it certainly has been a disappointment, but because of where he was, where that baseline was, you can tell yourself that story with Liam Cohen, with a rising star in Brian Thomas. And I say rising, but a star in Brian Thomas. And if he goes out there and has a strong first month of the season, people are going to remember why he was so highly valued coming out. And I think there's going to be a nice little bounce back on his value. Talking about quarterback 17 on Fantasy Calc, quarterback 18 for Dan's rankings, and I'm not really that far off at all. You look at the quarterbacks above him, I think there's 13 clearly like I would take without a doubt in +6, -2 scoring. But then you can make a case to have him tiered with a Baker, with a Kyler, that range, the late third, early to mid fourth startup value in super flex tight end premium formats. So I don't hate on this. My concern is right now with people being able to tell themselves that story like Dan is, whether it's believing in the bounce back in the player himself or believing in the situation and an improvement there. I think a lot of folks that have Trevor Lawrence are also going to buy into that a little bit. So yes, quarterback 17, 18 price tag. It would be tough, I think, because of where he is tiered. There's clearly guys above him. And then there's a pretty big tier break once you start to get below a Trevor Lawrence. So he's kind of in that range that if a believer has him, it's going to be hard to pry him from their hands.
Good news is I came in with trades. So I could tell you what his price point is at. Dan, you're up first. I'm actually going to ask you these three, then we'll flip it over to John, see if he disagrees at all. We'll start off with an easier one and progressively get more and more. All right, so we have 12 teams. Just so everyone knows, 12 teams, super flex, 10 starters is pretty much going to be the majority of these trades that we talk about. There's going to be a tight end premium when we get some tight ends later. Okay, JJ McCarthy or Trevor Lawrence?
Let me take a deep breath there on that one. I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence. I know it's a little scary because, McCarthy, he's, healthy. This would be his first time in that beautiful Vikings offense, and I think they're going to invest in him and go in that direction, although we still aren't quite sure in Minnesota. But I'm going to go with T-Law, man. I have him ahead in my rankings. I'm a believer, and I am telling that story like JB said.
All right, next one. Drake May or Trevor Lawrence and the 106?
Ooh, baby. You got me at 106. And I want to believe in Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, I have May ranked higher, but I still have some apprehension in what's going on in New England. I think Vrabel should turn that team around, but fantasy production-wise, offensively, we'll see what McDaniels does coming back into this. But I really like some rookies there at 106. With Trevor Lawrence, you're giving me a starting quarterback that I think will score as much or maybe potentially, if my story comes true, better than Drake May, and I've got myself a free 106.
Okay, so here's a couple later first. The 109 and the 112 or Trevor Lawrence. Nick Chubb is also on the Trevor Lawrence side, but he's just a toss-in at this point. So 109 and 112 for Trevor Lawrence pretty much.
I know the value of getting a starting quarterback, and I imagine this being a dynasty roster where I need to solidify my super flex 2-quarterback situation, and T-Law would do that. And that's a fair trade. I'd be willing to give up the 109 and 112, and Nick Chubb has nothing to do with that. But that's a nice little throw-in, so thank you.
You're all in. I love it. John, do you disagree with any of those?
No, I'm across the board. I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence on all of them. Trevor Lawrence over JJ McCarthy, Trevor Lawrence in the 106 over Drake May, and then Trevor Lawrence over the 109, 112. Now, caveat on that last one, of course, there is a roster construction standpoint here where I could buy into those picks, right? If Trevor Lawrence is my quarterback 3, if he, is maybe even my quarterback 4 on some builds, and that gives me a cash out opportunity. Maybe the quarterback market is not as hot in that league as I would like. That's the one that I could really buy into. And then on that Trevor Lawrence and 106 one, I'm looking at it. Mm-hmm. Maybe I think like 110, 111, 112, I switch.
I agree. No, I agree with you guys, because to me, the big thing with Trevor Lawrence is I think he could even have a subpar year this year, but the quarterback landscape in the NFL is so bad. There's going to be a team that's willing to make him the starting quarterback next year on a different, if the Jaguars just decide they want to move on because for whatever reason it's not working, Jacksonville, there's 5 other teams right now that would trade for Trevor Lawrence in a heartbeat because they don't have anybody to start. And, I don't think the 2026 quarterback class is all that great either compared to the previous classes that we've had before. So it's not like we have that saving grace. Maybe Archie comes out and he is that guy. But as of right now, I'm not overly enthused about that draft class either. But John, just so everyone knows, this is how it goes every time we do one of these shows. Dan has Trevor Lawrence, the hopefully rising star, after 3 or 4 years in the NFL, but he's finally going to get together. John, on the other hand, goes for the guy who's, I should have looked up his age. I think he's 33, 34 off the top of my head.
He turns 35 in October, and you might see him as old, but I see him as a potential sugar daddy for me here in 2025. The older guy that's going to be paying my bills, okay?
Who is Geno Smith. But keep going, John. John, give us a reason why we want to buy into Geno at this point in his career.
Mitch and I are listening.
A lot of it is due to the price here. Quarterback 30 on KTC, quarterback 28 on Fantasy Calc, and then Fantasy Calc has uploaded their individual rookie picks. And again, it's early in the entire process, so whenever we start to see more and more trades involving these rookie picks, there's going to be movement. But right now, between 203 and 204, you're not even going to get the quarterback 3 in this class at that point. If Jackson Dart gets the presumed draft capital that a lot of people are looking at, he's going to be going back into the first round. So you're looking at 203, 204. There just isn't going to be that opportunity. And then you look at the price of the other quarterbacks. Who else are you realistically going to get at that price? Stafford, Carr, maybe Justin Fields, or you could go lower and look at, you talk about Cresting, you talk about old Rodgers, Cousins, Russ, Levis, but he's obviously young, but we'll throw him in that bucket from a price perspective. The big thing here for me, Seattle, there were conversations are they going to stick with Geno Smith? His contract's up after the 25 season. I actually think he has shown enough to get a nice, small extension here. 70% completion percentage in 2024. That was up from 23. Get the flag ready, Dan, and I'll show you where to shove it. A little regression in both touchdown rate and interception rate here in 2024, and that's the big thing. 5.2% in 23, or in 22, pardon, whenever Geno had his career revitalization breakout there, and then it's down to 3.6. He is right on the cusp of, I don't want to say he's in that difference-making category because that would be silly, but at 16.5 points per game and +4, -1 scoring, quarterback 17 on a per-game basis in 2024. He was up over 18 in 2022. I think with Clint Kubiak coming in, taking over for Ryan Grubb back to Alabama, Kubiak coming in. When Carr was healthy last year, that offense was actually competent early in the season when he was in New Orleans. He was the OC, right? And then you look, passing game coordinator for a few teams, OC in Minnesota back in 2021. I don't know if we're going to see necessarily a split in the pass to run ratio that we saw even last year. How much time did I got?
You're still going. Dan's had his flag ready for a good 3 minutes now.
I'm filibustering right now.
He has exceeded his word count. He is now. He went from great points to sounding like one of those sharks on the car lot there that's trying to sell us this used beater, man.
Hold on. But I can get you into Geno Smith today at this price. Listen, 203, 204, like I talked about, you have to pay more if you want a Sam Darnold. You have to pay more if you want an Anthony Richardson in most spots. And I much prefer Geno at his price than, like I said, that group of Stafford, Carr, Fields below him. At that price tag, if I'm looking for a quarterback too, maybe some things haven't gone my way. Maybe I just took part in a startup, or I have a startup coming and the quarterback run hits earlier than I would have liked. Geno Smith is a very viable option. And you look at the state of the quarterback position. You can't tell me he isn't a top 25 quarterback in the league.
Now I got to throw penalty flags.
He's going to stick around.
Dan, you're up. You threw the flag. What's going on?
I was waiting for NFL official Mitchell Sorensen to take control of this game here because it was getting out of hand. It was just getting way out of hand. JB was on a tangent, and I'm not hating on JB's pick because, I always go into these with open mind. We have dynasty owners with all kinds of situations, and, Mitch, you laid it out there nice, different views that JB and I are angling at. And so I gave some deep thought when I saw the show notes because we didn't do a deep dive like before the show. We just know these are the guys that we like. So I'm like, where's JB going with this? And, JB said it best when he was looking at him like a sugar daddy. I'm thinking, okay, you got new Clint Kubiak coming in there. That might unlock some things. Maybe Noah Fant becomes relevant and this offense becomes good. And, you get them really cheap there. And we do believe Seattle is going to get 1, maybe even 2 years out of Geno because he is that sugar daddy that JB's talking about and has a nice year and exceeds expectations and has one really good year that could help a dynasty team. But JB lost me, and that's where I throw the challenge flag when he says he's going to get this contract extension. Like, all I remember is my $14,000 in DraftKings just dwindling because Geno couldn't hit DK Metcalf one time in an entire half because it was so painful watching him throw the ball. The only thing he could do was hit JSN because JSN was so wide open that John Bauer could have hit him wide open. So, I think Geno's good enough with a good team around him, and I think they could squeeze 1, hopefully 2 years out of him. But after that, JB, this is only a guy I would want to help me win this year, buy me some time at the quarterback position. But there are no long-term thoughts in Geno Smith in my mind.
I'm not talking about one. Let me get one rebuttal in here.
You were giving him a contract extension.
I'm not talking about a 4-year, $200 million type situation. I'm talking about a 2-year extension.
Hey, the Rams are trying to get out of Matthew Stafford, and he's good. Geno is sufficient.
I like Trevor Lawrence.
That's why he's priced where he is.
Right? Trevor with his 11-7 touchdown.
That's why he's priced where he is, fellas.
Okay. Speaking of price, John, I have trades for you.
All right, hit me.
But this is going to speak to the Geno Smith point that John's talking about because his price, there was a lot of trades out there with Geno Smith. Let's start off with an easy one for you, John. 26-second, Geno Smith.
Geno Smith.
Yeah, that one's super easy. Another one, 27-second, and Khalil Shakir or Geno Smith.
Geno Smith.
Okay. Here's a tougher one. I put these both in there because they were actually back-to-back on Dynasty Daddy, and I want to see what Dan's reaction is going to be to them because they're both for Dak Prescott. We got Geno Smith and George Pickens or Dak.
I saw that trade on there.
Mm-hmm.
Geno Smith and George Pickens or Dak Prescott. Give me Dak.
Okay. And the other one is Geno Smith and Michael Pittman or Dak. I'm assuming that's a
Dak.
Easy. Yeah. Dan?
Because I'll take Pickens over Pittman. So
agreed.
Yeah, the receiver ones are difficult, but I mean, I see 5+ years versus 2 out of Geno with some risk. The receivers, you're at that cusp of that receiver rankings or threshold where I think I could live without those guys.
Well, Dan, let's say it's just an early 26-second. Are you willing to give that up for Geno? Or are you just wanting to find a different quarterback at this point?
Yeah, those early offers there, man, those later seconds, that's where I'm banking on JB's theory of Geno being a sugar daddy and with the new system and some talent around, giving me 1 to 2 good years of really good production at the quarterback position. That's going to help me win, and I'll figure out that second round at a future time.
All right.
I mean, I'm counting on being able to roll into next year's episodes with some Louis Vuitton, some Gucci, some Burberry, because my sugar daddy Geno. Now, meanwhile, I'll probably getting some things from Kmart if it still existed, but
it happens. Okay. Dan, you're staying on the same team. And I mean, I constantly crap on this player for no real good reason. I mean, I don't even have a lot of shares of him in Dynasty. It's not like I play him a lot and he fails. Travis Etienne, man, I know you want to talk about Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. For anyone not watching on YouTube, we have graphics. I said it's a lot easier if I could just do a single player. So Dan, we're sticking with the Jaguars again. Travis Etienne was running back 41 on the season. Weekly point per game wise, barely broke 500 yards. Was pretty decent in the passing game. Why are you more willing to buy into him?
It really just comes at an opportunity where if I'm trying to repair or fix a position and find a player that I could get at a affordable price and not feel bad if it busts, but get a guy that could potentially highly exceed where he scored last year, where he's ranked right now currently, whether it's my ranks, fantasy calcs. I mean, he was a guy that was like in our top 20, top 12 at different points of the last 2 years. You know, I'm big on guys with the genes and the talent. I mean, he was a Florida back. He was a Georgia back. His brother's coming up. Like, I just think it was a bad situation. Now, the only thing that, it makes me a little more apprehensive is Tank Bigsby it looks better than him, and he's 3 years younger. And does Jacksonville go in a direction of Bigsby being the primary and getting those, red zone looks? I'm not sure. But if they really fix this offense, I mean, hey, there could be a Bucky Irvin or Rashad White situation where they're both getting good production and maybe potential more. Again, Travis Etienne is an explosive guy that could take one to the house. If he's healthy in a good offense, I want to get him on the cheap and get a guy that I think could potentially fix my running back room. But I would try to somehow get both and just have that Jacksonville backfield if this is going to be their backfield next year and be done with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So we'll get into trades here in a minute after I ask John a question, but I'm not sure how cheap you're really getting him. He's kind of an add-in on a couple trades, but straight up's a little bit more difficult. John, you know how I feel about Travis Etienne. Am I wrong here?
No, you're not. And like, if we're looking, and this is not retaliation for Dan shitting all over Geno Smith, okay? But if I can get 1 year from James Conner, give me James Conner over Etienne. The ageist out there are going to say, what are you talking about? Give me Brian Robinson, who's coming in overall running back 27 on fantasy calc, actually a little bit lower than Travis Etienne. Like, give me Tony Pollard over Travis Etienne.
Well, here's my question, JB, and tell me what you think. Like, when you mentioned those running backs, are they really easy to get? Like, Brian Robinson, another year with Jaden Daniels. His coach said he was a feature back. Eckler's a year older. Tony Pollard, still in that good O-line system, had a really good year. I'm looking at a guy that was like kind of dead last year. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, like, is he that easy to get? To Mitch's point, I'm not sure, but like a late second, is that fair? Or a late second and a late third? You know what I mean? Like, I can live without that late second round pick potentially to get myself a Travis Etienne in my team. And I think when people have rookie fever, they might be very willing to give that.
If I can get him for a late second, I'm in. I think he's valued higher than a late second still. And a lot of it is, forget about what he did last year. It's because of name value. And it's because of that. We talk about sentiment. It's talking about, we did it with Trevor Lawrence. Where did people have him previously? They remember that, a lot of running backs, if they did what Travis Etienne did, if they ceded so much work to another back in that backfield, like Rashad White plummeted in value and he was losing work to Bucky Irving, who looked very, very good. Etienne's losing work to the one-dimensional Bigsby.
So you guys, I'm sure, on your 150 Dynasty rosters probably have some Travis Etienne shares somewhere.
Sure don't.
If I come to the, well, yeah, maybe not Mitch. I'm hoping Mitch, JB maybe has some shares. But if I come to the table, or if you did, Mitch, because you're not an Etienne guy, so maybe Mitch is the guy I'm targeting in some leagues. If I come to the table with that late second, are we at least having a conversation? To your point, JB, maybe I got to throw in a third and a fourth or a little extra.
No, I would keep Etienne.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's get to the price points. All right.
What would you like?
Dan,
All right.
We'll start with you. Okay. Travis Etienne or the 25-202.
Ooh. 202 is just a little too rich. Every year there's just a stud guy that I know just for some reason slid. So I'm going to go with the 202.
Okay. Then Travis Etienne and the 205 or Chase Brown.
Well, I'll take Etienne and the 205.
Okay. And then Etienne and the 204 or the 109. It's pretty close to the same trade because that's about Chase Brown's price now.
Say that one more time.
So Etienne and the 204 or the 25-109.
Ooh, man. I mean, there's some guys I really like this year at 204, and I like Etienne. 109, though, I could be giving up something really, really special. But I'm going to have a little conviction here and roll the dice. If I have a team that really needs a running back and I could get a stud there at 204 as well, I'm going to take the twofer.
All right, John.
Clean sweep for me the other way.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I want the 202. I want Chase Brown. I want the 109.
Yep.
And now I'm starting to challenge on the screen Dan's rank of running back 34. I think we're looking closer to 24, honestly. But again, that speaks to the conviction that Dan has, honestly.
Yes.
So, kudos to you.
Yeah. And I guess, again, my hope was to get him a little bit less than some of those, values and trades that are going out there that Mitch is saying. So maybe to your point, JB, he is a little bit more pricey than I like. But if I could at least come to the table with a second and then see what else I could give, again, might get rejected in some leagues. But if I could get one or two more shares, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, no, that's more than fair. Okay, John, you are bringing up someone who we talked about literally all year, like all the time, nonstop. We kept bringing him up because he was so high on the Trinity score. Go on DD Fantasy. If you want to see who the good wide receivers in the NFL are, look at the top 20 on the Trinity score. It's all the good ones. And Courtland Sutton was consistently in the top 20 all season. Like I was saying, he's tied to Bo Nix. He's there for at least one more season for sure. I wouldn't be shocked if they give him a little 2-year extension on top of this. They have nobody else to throw to on that offense. Yeah, they're probably going to bring someone in, but when that chemistry is already there with the rookie and a veteran wide receiver, I think that kind of stays no matter who they're bringing in. Is that kind of your thought on the same thing, John?
Yeah, it's like you said, building that rapport. You look at Courtland Sutton, you mentioned the Trinity tracker over at ddfantasyfootball.com. And early in the season, Courtland Sutton was a guy that we talked about a lot because of the Trinity tracker. Lad McConkey was a guy that you put posts out on X about prior to really breaking out and really rising in value. But Courtland Sutton, wide receiver 16 on the Trinity tracker. And what is the Trinity tracker? It's kind of a combination and a weighted scoring of air yard share, yards after catch per reception, and target share. From week 8 on, he was wide receiver 5 on there. And then he was at 17.6 points per game. So week 7 was that Ofer game where he didn't get a target. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yep.
And as far as I know, like, he wasn't out in the media complaining. He wasn't ripping Bo Nix. Like, he kept quiet. He was professional. And then boom, he goes on to have a tremendous season. Another thing with Courtland Sutton, 32% of his team's red zone targets last year. That's the 4th highest across all wide receivers. So we're talking about price point. KTC has him at wide receiver 44. Fantasy Calc has him at wide receiver 47, right between 203 and 204 again. Yes, he turns 30. We're getting these old guys. I know. And then another player that's a free agent after the 25 season, but he had the best season of his career. He finally stayed healthy. He finally had a combination of a competent quarterback and a quarterback that seemed to have a good relationship with his coach. Russell Wilson, I think he was competent enough for Courtland Sutton, but that whole situation was kind of just a disaster. You mentioned Mims, Vele, the 27-year-old phenom, Troy Franklin, Adam Troutman. That's their receiving core. That's their tight end room at this point. So yes, they have picks 20, 51, 85, and then 4th round picks later. Loveland is a hot mock draft pick for them at pick 20. But I don't know if anybody's going to come in and really hurt Courtland Sutton's opportunity. And you look at the price of some of these other wide receivers, and there wasn't a difference really, especially from week 8 on, when you look at Sutton versus Adams, Sutton versus McLaurin. Like, it wasn't like a huge drastic change. And these are guys that are going earlier than him in startups. These are guys that are priced a little bit higher in existing leagues. He's going right around Deebo Samuel still, who's wide receiver 48. Give me a break. Like, Courtland Sutton, he came out, he absolutely balled. That's the price point I'm looking at, and I'm more than willing to pay it. I don't think I need to, and hopefully I'm proven right with the trades that you have here, because Dan and I have not seen these in advance. So
I
think that's really.
I was just gonna ask you real quick, Dan. Like you like Sutton, but you didn't hate him. You were just lukewarm on it. You were really high on when Amari went to Buffalo, and their price point is pretty close to the same. I mean, it's not that far off. Are you still willing to get into Amari as like older wide receiver? Or are you like more going towards the Sutton type now?
I mean, I think situation-wise, it's Sutton, and I think the hope is what JB mentioned, and the trades that you're about to bring up are hopefully at the price he's thinking. We've talked about Sutton in a past episode where he's getting drafted, and where he's getting drafted, we really like him. Is the trade value equivalent of where we know he's getting drafted? If it is, I'm in on Sutton. If he's not, I'm a little bit worried because, do people see him as a top 15 wide receiver? And at age 29, I'm not into paying too much for anyone. I don't care where he ranked last year. So I get a little bit nervous. So price dependent here, as a wise man named John Bauer once said.
Well, all these trades are from the last 3 days. So let's just hit them. First, let's go. What's the easiest one? Let's go Courtland Sutton or Brian Robinson, 12 team, no point per carry, just full PPR.
Too expensive.
Man, if that's the easiest one, I'm in trouble.
Oh, for me, it's easy because I'm still going Courtland Sutton there. I think Brian Robinson is completely replaceable in that offense.
I do lean Courtland Sutton. I have them tiered together, so I think that's a very fair trade. Roster construction comes into play, but I'll go Sutton.
Okay.
This is what's going to be really fun in our offseason as we go along. Obviously, especially once that draft hits, man, because it's what does Washington think of Brian Robinson? Somewhere like mid-season, they're like, hey, we see him as a feature back. He was getting that big, boost of approval there from Cliff Kingsbury. But then he kind of faded as the season went along, and like he didn't quite live up to expectations. But then he had a couple of touchdowns in the playoffs, and I see Coach Quinn, giving him a big hug on the sidelines. So do they believe in him? If they do, man, it's easy Brian Robinson for me. But Mitch, if you're right and they go and draft a running back, and this is a very deep class, then all of a sudden I'm getting a little skittish and might be wishing I had Courtland Sutton.
Yeah, if we're looking 25 over Brian Robinson.
If we're looking to minimize risk a little bit, I think that's kind of what pushes me towards Sutton as well, because we have a very good idea one way or another of what Sutton's role is going to be with the depth in this running back class coming in here. There are some question marks as to what Brian Robinson might be providing. I mean, Austin Eckler's still there. I know they got some guys there lower on the depth chart, but yeah.
All right, continuing on. Courtland Sutton or Quentin Johnston and the 207. I'm telling you, that first one was the easiest one.
I'll take the upside. Blah, 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 blah. I think it's a dead even one. Can I just say roster construction again?
Nope. No, we're not. This is the no head show. This is why we moved you out of the middle over there, so you have to have conviction.
All right, let's go with 207 and Quentin Johnston or Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton.
He's getting like me on that Etienne 2-for-1 trade. It is hard, man. But so you're trying to have conviction and stay with your guy. So I get why he went Sutton. For me,
scratch that. I'm going Quentin Johnston 207.
Look how quick he flipped.
Scratch it. All right, I'm staying put this time.
He's still hedging, Mitchell. But I would say Courtland Sutton. What if Quentin Johnston's the wide receiver 3 after they draft a stud tight end or someone else, and then there are some receivers there that could be future Courtland Suttons at that 207 there. So I could go either way, but if I want to win now, it's Sutton.
And then last one,
hedging like John.
We got Courtland Sutton or Jalen Coker, a 26 third and a 27 second.
Second, third.
Give me without any additional context, give me the package there.
Okay. Dan?
Yeah, I'm really liking Coker. Do I have enough cojones to go with this one with having to wait for future picks? But I think that could be a nice roster move there. But you did say 10-team leagues most often to start these. If in a 10-team league, I might be happy with Courtland Sutton.
No, I think you said start 10.
Oh, start 10? It's my bad. 12-team.
Start 10, 12-team team. Yeah, but no, I would take Sutton on that one personally. Just 27 is so far in the. What if it's the 27 to 10? I'm like, whatever. I want
know.
2 years.
I know.
Yeah.
All right. I was hoping for some more conviction there on someone who we've talked about the last 6 months, but it's all right. If you want some random picks and Jalen Coker, it's all yours.
I honestly think. Let me just freaking hedge a little bit, guys. I honestly think the second and third trades there, depending on the way my roster is built, depending on my team direction, I don't have an issue either way.
That's boring.
Honestly.
Okay.
Honestly.
All right, moving on. We are going to hype again from Dan. This is so I've been in a few startups. Cole Kmet. Each time you look, he's up another round and up another round and up another round. And I'm not sure if it's because we're really buying into Cole Kmet or we just hate every single tight end in the NFL out of the top 6. And so Cole Kmet's like kind of the hot name right now. Dan, what is it for you? Is he really that hot of a name? You're buying into that offense, or is it he is just priced so low at tight end 19 on Fantasy Calc that you might as well buy into him on this point?
Hey, man, when I had this homework assignment and I try to give a guy or guys at each position that I think could just climb, get at a value. I had 2 tight ends, Cole Kmet and Jake Ferguson. We picked Kmet for the show notes here. Ranked 17th, 165 points last year. He's a guy that I think with this situation could get into that 200 threshold that I like at tight end. He's only 25 years old. I think, could I get him for a 3rd and a 4th round pick? Or, if I could get him at the right price, especially if I'm in a draft where, you said it pretty well a couple of shows ago, Mitch, where you said, hey, this is the, rookie draft that fixes your tight end situation. Well, if I miss out because I traded all my draft picks last year or someone hops on one of those, spicy tight ends, I want a guy that could just get above that threshold of every other tight end in the rankings. Do I think he could hit near the elite? No. But I really do like his talent. He is a guy that when I watch him in games, I'm like, why is he not getting the ball more consistently? And I think Ben Johnson could unlock Cole Kmet enough where he could get into that top 12.
I'm kind of in agreement there. Ben Johnson just uses the tight ends so much. I know there was a little 6 to 7 game blip with Sam Laporta early in the season, but I think Sam Laporta was injured, to be honest. I just think there was something going on because once he got healthy later in the season, it was the Sam Laporta show again. But John, are you willing to buy in Cole Kmet? Because to get him off of rosters, I have a few trades, but one of them's kind of old that I don't think there's any chance happens anymore, but he does have an elevated price now compared to that tight end 19 Fantasy Calc value.
I think there's still a nice opportunity to acquire Kmet given a 1.75 or 2 PPR for tight ends, not an additional 2 points, but the extra one if it's PPR across the board. And I'm looking, and I think there are opportunities to make a move here. And I'm looking at some of the guys that are valued over him: Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts. Why? Yeah. Why? So I think there are pivot opportunities here where it makes sense to add Cole Kmet in a tight end premium league. And if it's non-tight end premium, well, you can skip over the section of the show.
Yeah, no, they're all tight end premiums. That's what we're talking about them. But I really want to talk about the first trade first because I received an offer with this player in it, and I'm kind of stuck right now. So we have Cole Kmet on one side. It's a half-point tight end premium, 12 teams, start 10, or the 207 and Jordan Whittington. I'm having a hard time buying into the Whittington narrative, right? Because it's there without a doubt. If they move on from Kupp, they don't replace him. You could see Whittington moving into that situation and producing a little bit. But there was also some times this year to where he had the opportunity and nothing happened.
0.5 premium.
0.5.
Give me the pick.
Dan?
Yeah, the pick in Whittington at a 0.5 premium, and you might get yourself one of those tight ends in that second round potentially as well.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. So next one, Javonte Williams, free agent, or Cole Kmet?
What's the premium we're assuming here?
It's 1. Sorry.
Full point.
Full point.
Give me Kmet. That's a tier break for me. So I'll go Cole Kmet.
Yeah, me too. I think Williams has to leave Denver, find some better situation to be worth that trade. And as of right now, we don't have that. So give me the tight end premium and Kmet.
Same. Kate, now this one's a little bit of a bigger one that I try to find. Sam Laporta on one side. Full point, tight end premium. Or Cole Kmet, the 25-108 and the 25-211.
Laporta.
I'll go Laporta 2 with the full point.
Yeah, same. These tight end ones are hard because what you'll find with a lot of tight end trades, it's tight end for another tight end with a very small addition added on. You don't see a lot of like tight ends for running back trades. That's how you see like a Cole Kmet for a Javonte Williams.
And I think a lot of that comes down to, and we're in leagues like this where the tight end market is so inflated that people, if they don't have a tight end, they typically don't have a tight end because they don't value the tight end position the ways the rest of the league might, or teams that are hoarding the position. So we don't really see any cross positional things right there. So I think that's a good thing to point out there, Mitch.
Yeah, I think in going for a Cole Kmet, I'm going for a Cole Kmet in a league where I don't have one of the top 3-4 tight ends. I'm trying to find someone just to keep me competitive in scoring. I have Sam Laporta. I have no interest in Cole Kmet whatsoever.
But speaking about a tight end, though, that is like extremely undervalued for what he gives you points per game wise. David Njoku, tight end 4, weekly points per game. That's without premium. That's just normal PPR because it's so hard to pull up that scoring. John.
Mitch, before you go to John, I am so curious where John is going with this and how and why. Like, I don't see where, and I'm not saying like if people have Njoku, hey, he's a good tight end to have on your team. If you draft him, he's a good tight end to draft. But John's saying he's going to go trade for him. I'm curious what scenarios he sees where he could get him at a value or what he's willing to give.
That's my worry too. Like there isn't a quarterback on the Browns right now. They just
that's
don't
okay.
Have that.
That's okay.
And we know it's not going to be Jameis Winston because they gave up on him halfway through the season to do the DTR thing, which was, it was something. So maybe they end up getting Cam Ward that a lot of mocks have done. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? David Njoku's not a bad guy. So John, break it down for us.
Well, maybe it's conviction. Maybe it's out of spite, but I'll be shopping tonight. And we'll see if there's anything in the bargain bins here. But David Njoku, tight end 11 on both Fantasy Calc and KTC on Fantasy Calc, and this is with no tight end premium between that 202 and 203. But honestly, I don't know if the price point, and Mitch, maybe you'll prove me wrong here with these trades, I don't know if the price point is all that different. Like, people are still taking Dalton Kincaid over David Njoku. What are we doing? What seriously? I understand we're playing Dynasty. I understand we want to build a pretty team. I understand we want the guys that could certainly appreciate and value. But come on. David Njoku, yes, he is older. He turns 29 this year. Free agent after 25. That's a common theme with my guys tonight. Tight end 8 on the Trinity tracker. Tight end 4 in points per game. Week 7 on, he was at 16.2 points per game in PPR. Tommy Reese takes over at OC. Ken Dorsey out. Tommy was the tight ends coach previously. Had some positional roles in throughout several collegiate programs. Really nothing at the NFL level, so it's going to be interesting. And like, how depressing is it that these dudes coming in are like 32, 33 years old as OCs, and I'm like, just sitting in my basement doing it. All right. But
I like how it took 43 minutes for us to get a "What are we doing?" I thought we'd get it a little bit earlier, but I understand you feel a little under the weather. I was hoping for a little bit more early in the show, but we'll take it now.
I don't know.
I don't get it. Like, if we're talking about 2 PPR, if we're talking about 1.75 PPR, when this dude is on the field, he is nothing but productive, and he gives you a high ceiling. So if you are missing out on that Bowers, that McBride, Laporta, and we're looking at these other players here, you can do something cross-positionally. You know what? People might bitch and moan about this. Give me David Njoku over Chris Olave and 2 PPR for tight ends.
What was that again?
Give it to me. David
Say that-
Njoku over Chris Olave, full PPR across the board. Again,
No,
Dan,
I
you be it.
Dan's throwing the flag again for anyone listening.
This is Cleveland, John. This is Cleveland.
I don't
Like,
care.
You're
Look
talking
at how
about Ken
productive
Dorsey
he has
getting, Can there and for Tommy Reese. Like that's not really an upgrade. I almost feel bad for
I didn't say
Ken
it was an
Dorsey.
upgrade. I was stating a fact.
He has no quarterback. He's got no offensive coordinator. He's got a dysfunctional owner. Like there's no really like how much optimism is there really? Myles Garrett wants out of town.
Let's make that defense worse. That's fine.
But, like I get your point of, Kincaid, because Josh Allen just refuses to throw to him in that offense, whatever it is, he's not getting the volume. So I get that. But I mean, Chris Olave, dude, that guy's a stud. It's a superstar. He just needs a good situation and to stay healthy.
Different definitions of the word stud. I want producers for my fantasy teams. David Njoku is that. Chris Olave, get out of here.
If he's healthy, now with Kellen Moore, a team that might go in the right trajectory.
This big, Dan.
But everyone and their mom would give you David for Chris Olave.
And I know the rebuttal that I'm going to get in the comments, so let me hide in plain sight as I always do, and let me get out ahead of it. I know David Njoku has been injured a few times in his career. I get it.
As well.
I get it.
I'm excited for these accepted trades you're going to be getting. Okay, so let's look some offers.
Bring us back.
Honestly, John, you're kind of right because his value is in the dirt. A full point PPR, David Njoku, or the 211, the 410, and the 412.
Njoku.
Oh, that's a gift. But that's not what I'm talking about. See, he's trying to give up Chris Olave when he could just give up that.
No, I agree. Next one, David Njoku or Isaiah Likely, the 309 and the 405.
Njoku.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, this one, we'll see Jake Ferguson in the 310 or David Njoku. Same setting.
Njoku.
Yeah, I wish I had more than a 310 with Fergs.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I tried to find Njoku trades where someone was kind of overpaying for him. They just weren't on there. And I tried to pull trades from the last 5 days. I didn't go too far back, but
Fergs in a second, I'd be listening.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And the tight end ones, like I was saying, they're hard because no one, like Sam Laporta trades happen, Brock Bowers trades happen, McBride, there's a lot of people who are willing to give up a lot for those players. But you didn't see me bring up like a wide receiver outside of Jordan Whittington that's being traded, for a tight end, unless you're John, who's trading away, Jess Jefferson for David Njoku. But here we are. That's okay.
All right. Would it have been better? Would it have pleased the court if I would have said like Keon Coleman and a late second?
No, I love your Chris Olave a lot more. I want you to get these offers, and well, you probably don't have a lot of Chris Olave.
No, I have some lingering, but like,
all right,
I have my cross positional tiers as part as the DD fantasy football community. I'm not here to blow smoke. This is the way I have these players valued. Can I get a plus? I think based on what Dan and Mitch's reactions were, I can. So get the Clippers out because I'm hedging. But
there we go. Bring him back.
But like David Njoku, he's been fantastic when he's on the field. And I know he has his injury concerns. So again, I wanted to get out ahead of that. And I truly hope a player like Chris Olave can stay healthy because he's a very good player. Is he a stud? No.
Hey, if the market is anywhere near what Mitch portrayed, JB, you had a very good take tonight. But if the price is higher, that is what I worried about, Oh, the price tag you're talking about.
All right. This is going to go on for another 15 minutes. Dan, final thought.
Final thoughts, 2 quickies tonight, boys. One, just dash for my show no dreams. Mitch didn't even he couldn't get the eraser out any faster when I put Luke McCaffrey down as a name, but I was so proud to get Luke McCaffrey for a 4th this week in a trade. I know he's like ocean bottom statistically as he just ran, wind sprints all season long from beginning to end. But McLaurin's the only tight end coming back. I'm sure they will draft someone else. I think he's just a converted quarterback to receiver, didn't have a lot of college experience. He's still a McCaffrey. He's still talented for dirt cheap. I like him. So I just wanted to squeeze that in there. And then I mentioned, diving into film study. And I think you guys looked at me with like eyes and question marks in our chat. And I don't think I clarified. He wasn't the best film I saw on tape because there are some superstars in this draft. But the guy no one's talking about whose film I liked the most was Syracuse running back LaQuint Allen. I look forward to diving into some running backs in future episodes. He really looked nice, boys. So just want to throw that out there for those listeners that stood to the end.
I love if someone just has the same last name as someone else. You're like, no, I'm still in 4 years later. John?
I have several thoughts here, but just one final thought. And this came up in the Discord, actually, there are, you're talking about startups, especially this time of year. People need their fix before rookie drafts hit, before the NFL draft, before the combine. If you're in a super flex league, I think that, I'm not going to go all the way down to Geno Smith here, boys, but I think that quarterback 14 to 20 range, their price to get them in startups. Like when we talked about this a few weeks ago, Mitch, it's like, would you rather have, Jordan Love in the 2nd or get Jared Goff in the late 4th? Based on roster construction and all that, I know which way I'd go. So I think there's tremendous value when you're looking at guys like Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, like Dan alluded to. I still like Tua. JB, how could you like Tua, not like Chris Olave? I know. I'm the kettle calling pot calling the kettle black? Kettle calling the pot?
Pot calling the kettle.
Okay. All right. But like, I think there's tremendous value in those spots when you're building your roster. So that's my startup spiel, and I'm sticking to it.
Love it. Please join the community at ddfantasyfootball.com. Ray's in there all the time talking rookie. Scott's in there. Shane's in there. We're all in there. Everybody. It's just such a great community to join and to be a part of. Like, even just liking and commenting on these videos is huge. But if you really want to come out and support the whole team here, join up. Make sure you're part of the community over at ddfantasyfootball.com. It's huge. But hey, we appreciate it. We'll be back next week. If there's any topics you guys want us to hit on, put them in the comments. But if not, we'll just see you next week, guys. Thank you.